Now that I'm looking at it, maybe I don't even want to chop my bangs. Oh, no, I definitely do. Wine, bangs, wait for it, scissors. What does this equal? Put all of it together, and what does that equal? Just my average Wednesday afternoon, am I right? I did more to my eyebrows than I usually would do, so ignore them if they look crazy, or appreciate them if you like them. It's up to you. I get questions all the time about how I cut my bangs, if I cut my own bangs, if other people cut my bangs, whatever. And I figured today I would squash, all the rumors and just do it myself, because most of the time, especially if I've been traveling quite a bit, I don't have my regular girl there to cut my bangs. And everyone who cuts my bangs that isn't my girl Kiki absolutely destroys my bangs and makes me look like a 5th grader. And I can't have that. I've lived that phase of my life, literally in 5th grade when I looked like Willy Wonka, and I don't really want to do that anymore. I'd like to look at the very least like a sexy Willy Wonka. I'm gonna do sort of a Q&A. We'll see where it goes, because I am going to be drinking this very delicious bottle of wine. Maybe not the whole bottle, but just maybe a few glasses. I asked you guys to ask some questions while I'm cutting away because I feel like it's an appropriate thing to do. And somehow I've already misplaced my phone, so that's even better. So I'm gonna zoom you guys in and we're gonna get to trimming. Let's go. I've got a little mirror down here, so I'm gonna be looking in like this general direction, like this, quite a bit, so just, bear with me. Let's go. These are literally $10 scissors that I got from Rite Aid. People probably are gonna make fun of me for that, but I wish I cared more. My bangs grow so rapidly and at such a rate that I would literally use like nail scissors if I was that desperate, because I really don't care. If I mess it up, it's gonna grow out. That's my philosophy in life. I think if you're gonna have bangs, you have to live with that idea, because otherwise you're gonna be in and out of salons all the time. It's not worth your time or money. I also put down a towel to mitigate hopefully any red wine spillage and or hair, because I am going to be cutting my hair and it's gonna probably get everywhere. So, yep, preparing for that. Part of me in my head is like, this is a good length, but I'm about to leave to go out of town for work and I won't be home for a little while, and also Kiki's out of town, so I think I'm just gonna have to do a little bit of a trim. Because this, when it gets to this point, I get slightly furious. I can't have this. Number one amazing thing that I can tell you if you're gonna cut your own bangs like me and try to save a little bit of cash dollar is never cut like this unless you're just getting like a very long piece of hair. I always cut like this. Ding, 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 ding. I saw a French girl on YouTube do that once and I never did anything else. All right, Kiki, look away. Look away now. I'm about to cut your baby in two. First question, how did you find a hairstyle that you felt like really suited you? I'm struggling. I think it is just a case of constantly trying new things until you don't absolutely hate something. I think that's it. I think it's so fun to experiment, and I think in the last year, it's funny, this is probably one of my most adventurous hairstyles, but in the last year I've been very unadventurous. I've been very fearful and very afraid to try new things. So I think just fight that natural urge to not want to do something new, especially when it comes to hair. It always grows back. Don't be worried about it. It's not like plucking your eyebrows. Like, that shit is not irreparable. It's reparable. Honestly, look at that already. It makes such a difference just having that middle bit a little bit cut. Someone asked me how I cut my bangs. Boy, is this the video for you. Someone asked me if I think high school love is real. It is real, but it is also very easily confused with infatuation, and I think that that is why I don't really 100% always think that marrying your high school sweetheart, staying with your high school sweetheart for a very long time, I don't think that's always like the most healthy thing. I think sometimes you stay with something just because it's comfortable and because it doesn't challenge you, and I think that's not how you get your life all spicy like. I think if you want a spicy life, you have to try new things, you know? If I had stayed with the same guy, you know, I would not have met Will, and that would have been really, really lame, and I would have experienced a lot less fun in my life. That's not always true, but I feel like it is true as you get a little older. You start to realize that maybe the things that you valued in high school were not things that you value as an adult. Oof, we're getting shaggier. We're getting to a place I like. I want to be able to do this and nothing gets in my eyes. That's like the goal. Okay, what else do we got here? Any tips for first time scared climber who has noodles for arms? Well, first of all, go to the doctor. Because I bet they would want to study you because noodle arms, I can't imagine that more than 1,000 people in the world have noodles for arms. I can't imagine any more than that. But what I would say is that climbing is 100% forearm and hand strength and core strength and less actually about biceps more than anything. So I would say, oh my god, I'm already slurring. So I would say, you're gonna suck. Like, you will suck unless you specifically do hand and forearm workouts, which literally no one does unless you're like a professional football player. You're gonna suck, but everyone else around you has sucked at one point, and that's totally okay and valid, and it's beyond fine. And honestly, when I see people just starting off and beginning, I never look down on them. I'm always excited to see that new people are interested in it, and it means that the community is getting bigger, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I've found that the climbing community is one of the most welcoming communities. So don't be worried and don't be scared. And if you really feel like you want to hone in on some skills early on, a lot of climbing gyms, the employees will do like new initiation groups every week, so you can go and learn kind of like tips and tricks for beginners, how to set yourself up in the right way. I know I made a lot of mistakes in the first couple months of climbing that, like, looking back on, I would have been able to nip in the bud very easily if I had just asked for advice. So I would say, ask for advice from the ones around you. There's nothing wrong with that, and I love helping people out at the gym. It's not a very solo activity. To be honest, it's a very social activity because people are waiting by the wall, they're waiting to do a route that you're doing, and you can kind of ask advice. It's like a puzzle. So yeah, don't be afraid to talk to people at the gym. Like, everyone that I've met while climbing has been wonderful and nice and, like, honestly annoyingly supportive, so don't worry. People are not judging you, I promise. I genuinely mean that. People are not judging you. Someone said, so my BF wants to do some sexy stuff I'm not too into. Backdoor related. What, you guys gonna fuck by your screened in porch? It's a location joke. What do I do? Well, you communicate with him, not me, because I'm not the one trying to shove a thumb up your butt. He is. If you've ever been curious about it, like, be comfortable exploring that. There's nothing wrong with just exploring something and seeing how you feel about it. But also, if you have a 100% stuck in opinion, like if you were like, I do not want to do that, that does not fascinate me, I feel disgusting, I don't like it, you don't have to do it. Like, that does not have to be a thing you have to do, because that is your body and it is your choice. But I think have a conversation with him, because a lot of times things like that might be related to a different fetish or kink that you can fulfill in different ways. So don't feel guilty about wanting to explore it if you do. You're not a slut. Well, you are, but I support it. Someone said, I'd love to see how those ColourPop blotted lips look on, if you don't mind. Well, I'm wearing it right now. Hey! This is honestly the only liquid lip that I'll wear. I hate liquid lips. I think they're so drying, and I cannot wait until they just fall off the face of the earth. But these blotted lips are unreal. They fade so well. This is not an ad for ColourPop, by the way, but they're amazing, and I loved the stick form of the blotted lips that they came out with a couple years ago, and so I knew I was gonna like this, and I do. Someone asked me to drop a playlist that makes me feel all kinds of human emotions, so I'm gonna drop my playlist because it makes me feel all kinds of human emotions. I'll put it in the description box if you want to go listen to it. It's a melange of basically everything I've been loving for the past like year, so if that interests you, go give it a listen. Someone said, if you went to art school, where would you want to go and what would you most be excited for? And oh my god, I would be excited for so many things. I would like to go somewhere in London. I've said that before in the college video that I made, but I think that London just has, you know, a connection to Europe and a lot of European classical painters and artists in general that I deeply admire. So I think it would be awesome to be able to go to a school that gives me physical access to all of that. Like I want to be able to go and head out to Amsterdam on a school trip and go see the Van Gogh Museum again, even though I've already seen it, and the David Hockney exhibit is amazing. He does a lot of cool stuff on iPads, and I really appreciate that for someone who's a little bit older and in the traditional art world. Go check out David Hockney's rendition of Van Gogh digital art. That was the most artsy, stupid thing I've ever said, but go check it out. It's very, very cool. I'll link it in the description. But I would love to get back into fine art. I've said that before. I miss oil painting big time. I miss that so much. I miss the texture. I miss the smell. I just love it. Like the flow that you get into when you're painting, it's just so life fulfilling. And when I'm in really heavy traffic in LA, it's the one thing I fantasize about doing in that moment. In my ideal world, like I am sitting in a house that I own and can afford, and I have a greenhouse out back where I paint and tend to my plants, and I have a dachshund sitting in my lap, and like that's my ultimate, you know, fantasy. Maybe it's a little bit suburban, but listen, I'm happy. I'd be happy. So yeah, I would love to learn more about illustration, animation, ceramics, fine art, oil painting. I have too many things. I've always been one of those people that's like a jack of all trades. You know, what is it? Master of none? Student of everything but master of none kind of vibes. But I don't mind that. I've always said if I didn't ever get a degree out of it, I would feel fine as long as I was taking classes that I felt really passionately about. And I know that sounds kind of stupid, but I don't really expect to make a lot of money from my art degree. I just really want to feel like I'm investing in my personal pleasures. So, what's your favorite memory with Will? If you don't know, Will's my boyfriend. He's actually playing Fortnite right here next to me. And he's being so good and so quiet, so like everyone give it up for Will in the comments because it's very hard to stay quiet while you're playing Fortnite. I'll tell you that much. I'm very impressed by you right now. My favorite memory of Will is actually one of my first memories. When we went on our first date, I was really nervous on the tube because I didn't really know the system very well, and I was gonna get picked up by him at the Airbnb I was staying at, and then we were gonna tube over to the restaurant. So I was a little bit nervous because the US has terrible public transport. I am not used to being on public transport. I'm not used to being on a tube that's like hurtling through space underground. I was not used to any of that. So when I went underground for the first time and like sat down, I mean not the first time, but the first time with Will, and sat down, he was wearing this very cute little pea coat. I can still remember like the color of the cuff underneath it. Very, very cute. And I looked up at him and I just remember him sitting there so calmly, and I think he put his hand on my lap. And I just remember thinking, I feel really safe with this person and I really want to get to know them. And I think that's one of the best memories because I think it was the first time that I had the thought, this is gonna be something bigger. You know what I mean? I don't know. Hey Arden, I constantly think about my future professional wise, and I'm fucking scared because I don't know. Bruh, me too. Honestly, dude, same. To be honest, that's me. Yeah, I've always felt that way. YouTube was never something that I really saw as like a full-blown career, so when it kind of allowed me that, it was definitely a weird situation to be in because it was non-traditional and no one was doing it, and then all of a sudden everyone was doing it, and you feel kind of like left behind and weird. And I didn't go to college, so I don't have something that I'm focused in, so all of that is weird, and I understand where you're coming from, but I think the thing that you have to remember is that literally everyone feels that way. Unless you have a very specific thing that you were like, I am good at this and nothing else. This is the thing that I am good at. This is the thing that I excel at. I 100% love this. That's great for you. Cards full, legs asleep, arms heavy. My bangs are actually looking pretty good right now. Like I know they probably don't look very different in your perspective, but maybe just a little bit shorter and then we're good. I think we're good after that. If I go any further, I'll start regretting things. We're getting to the point where there's no eye contact between Bang and I. No contact. How did you know that long distance was right for you? How did you make it work? Here's the thing, Will and I are in a very, very, very privileged position where we fortunately fly quite a bit on air miles. That's like the #1 way that we save money. And we've been so lucky that through our jobs and family, that has not been an issue. If I had to pay for flights every time I wanted to go to London, we would be apart quite a bit more often. The thing that sucks about long distance is that it's expensive. Like when you travel to see each other, you have to be together for a while to make it count. And if we didn't have jobs that were so flexible that we could do anywhere, it would be so hard for us. And I understand what a privileged position that is. So I would say, take stock of where you are and what your relationship is, and if you feel like you can do the hustle of a long distance relationship, that's awesome. I will also say that the times where Will and I are apart end up being some of the healthiest times for me because I'm having to actually confront myself and I have to be alone, and I can't just rely on Will to give me emotional support. I have to stand by myself. So I think that's really important and empowering too in a modern relationship. Like feeling like you can stand on your own 2 feet, you can make your own friends. It's very easy in our modern world to make our lovers, our best friends, our spouses, our partners, our everything. And it's hard to pull away sometimes. And I see that in other people as well. I just think it's good because it gives you perspective. And for me, I'm a very obsessive personality. My boyfriend is playing Fortnite right next to me while I make a video. I tend to make my relationship that way. Like my partner, my boyfriend, my best friend, all of that. And I would not wish it any other way. I love that. But it is good to be by myself, and it's good to reflect. And I always say this, and it's true, but like pining is so good for a relationship, I think. Because when you pine for someone, all you can think about are all the things you love about that person. And I think meditating on the reason why you love someone is really beautiful, and we don't do enough of it. It's easy to take people that you love for granted, but when they're not right in front of you, it's so much easier to see why you love that person because you start missing them in situations where you would take them for granted. So yeah, like when I want to go see a movie and like I just really kind of want to go by myself, but I want to be able to make comments to other people. That would be something I would do with Will. And I can't do that if I'm completely alone. I mean, I can, but then I'm just talking to the person next to me in the theater and they never seem that receptive to my conversations. And I understand why. So I'm not gonna lie, my bangs are actually looking pretty perfect for what I wanted. Like I said, I just wanted it to be like, so I can see a little bit. Now you know how I cut my bangs is just this while drinking and paying barely any attention to what I'm actually cutting. I am 150% convinced that the less you care about something, the less it goes wrong. The more I care about my bangs, the more they tend to look how I don't want them to look. But the moment I stop giving a shit, they do what I want. So there we go. Bangs. Here, I'll give you a bang tour. Let's get up close. These are the shaggy boys. These are the shaggy boys. Kiki, my girl, I hope you're proud of me for what I've done here. You're not too disappointed. And if you give me the stink eye when you cut my hair next, I totally get it and I appreciate it and I understand why. And if you get any kind of like chunky bits in your hair, if you feel like any of this is too chunky, that's why you go to a professional. Because the chunky bits are what usually happen when an unprofessional person cuts their own hair. Overall, I think it looks pretty good though. Let me zoom out, let's see. So there it is. Your dad who just got back from Palm Springs in mysterious circumstances. Where did he get that Winnebago? No one knows. Why does he have a shamrock tattoo on his ankle? I think you need to ask Janet from up the road. I'll see you guys later. I gotta take a nap.